What's going on, y'all? It's JSmo Reviews here, back at it again with another video, man. Bringing you guys, as I said I would, following power moves, a specific bar-for-bar review here. Approach for approach is better for this battle for Hitman Holla versus Geechi Gotti. Humongous battle that probably no matter what I was going to do this review, but thank God, like, the battle is also very good. There's a bunch of different things to break down, from bar quality, which is all mostly good, some moments of bad, which people always seem to call out when it comes to these two artists, particularly Hitman, but there is a ton of approaches. This battle is based around angles. It's battled around a very certain type of light they try to paint each other in, and I feel like there's a lot of things to discuss. Plus, I'll tell you right now, it's an extremely debatable battle that is going to come down to one round. So without further ado, man, let's get right into the rounds. So battle starts out on Geechi in the first. For those that watch, you know that this is probably the best round of the battle, but it has the most different angles that he flew through and different approaches to break down. But starts off rip. Let's talk about why you got robbed in Cali, and he has a John Wick bar to follow. And then I love this about Geechi is sometimes leading up to a bar, it's just a quick bit of real talk, or almost like kind of life applicable, life advice stuff, and it's not really the bar, but there's value to it. So he says, you know, they said afterwards, you waited outside for an hour asking for a fade. Anyone that lets you try to fight after you almost lost their life is not a real friend. And the crowd kind of buys into the bar. And then he says, you was looking for the fade, but they already lined you up. So that hits as a haymaker, just a masterful build up early. Then he has the, you asked what time is it, and they showed you what time it was. That hit. He had the project's been waiting for that to drop, like Detox. So the Dr. Dre Detox bar was dope. Just like that Justin Timberlake movie, they took the time off your wrist. The movie in question is called In Time. It's actually movie, decent film, you know what I'm saying? But even better bar there. Then from there, we're switching gears, right? So then he has this, they taught you how to gangbang angle, kind of already inferring, you know, painting this picture. Hitman obviously isn't what he claims, not really a gang member. He's just kind of, you know, claiming it to look cool. That's really what all these different angles are doing for the rest of the round to try to break down Hitman. Talking about, they told you to go check, homie, and then you went and forced out a where you from, like a refugee, you know, forced out of where you from, and then you know, where are you from? So I thought that was fire. Then right there, whack 100 angle, which we all knew was coming. I guess all that blood pressure was too high, like the dudes who fought at Suge's event. So that's fire. Current event bar as well. I don't want to hear no blood coming out of them pussies' lips, period. So a little bit of basic wordplay here, and there's going to be a few bars that we're going to get some laughs through this battle, just in these first two rounds particularly, but there's so much critique about, like, these guys, you know, bar for bar, like, writing. Neither of these guys they're all-time greats, but neither of them are, like, pens or punchers, you know what I'm saying? You could debate, like, Geechi's a little more sound bar for bar, but you're going to hear some OBC and some outdated concepts. This one is definitely more about the approaches. It's not Lux Nitty, and every battle's not going to be that, you know what I mean? So, but he has the period bar, and then he gets in this kind of like the origins of Pyru concept, explaining like, Hitman, do you know the history? Talking about they were doing graffiti and pop locking for some shit you trying to b-boy. I thought that was clever. The Lewis part kind of set up into the P Fingers bar, where he's talking about, Hitman, could you even direct us to the hood? I thought both of them, I mean, they both landed. I thought both were dope. The Dulce Hitman bar I thought was pretty good. I can still go around the block like it's text free. I thought that was clever. And then this is where I felt like you kind of have the strongest part of his round. You ain't from the Incredible Gang, you an Incredible Gang, which I thought was funny, talking about Nick Cannon. You don't gotta be from the hood to be of the hood and acknowledge it. Another kind of setup like the one earlier, talking about, you know, him asking for the fade and who's not your real friend. I thought that's just like a little bit of substance to lead up into the next bar. Kind of has the you're getting extorted angle, the holiday pay extra. But with holiday pay extra, I thought that was cool. You're not from Peru, little Gerald. You just from the Red Squad, which turned into a moment and a haymaker. Obviously, you know, bringing Wildin' out into the bar. Had the crowd chanting Wildin', which I thought was a moment in the building. The Yet bar, going back kind of the Whack 100 live. I thought that was dope, or I think it was the clip of Hitman. That was funny, more so. The same type of blood can't transfer heart. I thought that bar was good. And then he had one more blade in him. Oh, I fucked up, Charleston White, which we've kind of heard before, but already a strong round by then. I feel like for we knew the gang angle was coming. I thought he painted it very well in the first, and that's why, especially with that beginning of the battle energy, it's good to go first there. He got the most out of it. And the Hitman's first response is still solid. I thought it was a little bit closer being in the building, as sometimes that's what it's like in the building because of the energy transferring. But he had some rebuttals, actually. He had a few in this battle. I don't want to hear nothing about getting robbed when the people who shot your ass are still alive. So that was cool. Keep talking, and I'll have you in a hospital bed next to Verb's mama, which kind of crazy, but hit as a haymaker as well. I mean, the straight disrespect, sometimes that's all it takes. And then his mic messes up because, giant rope chain that he had on over it. And listen, man, Hitman, you know better, man. How many times, I think Surf and Hitman is one of the more famous times that the chain fucked up someone's momentum, or was it Surf versus T-Top as well? It's just, it was Hitman's chain versus Sue Surf, so hilarious. We're talking like 10 years later, making that same mistake, but then from there, bring the cam, we'll fuck you up and then bring the cam to your mom like Pat Bev, and she'll watch what happened. Bullets go in him, now you really gotta turn to your bro and ask him, cuz, what's cracking? That was a haymaker, the way he performed it. The Murder Inc. scheme was cool. The whole I rule like another job, that was not good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Murder Inc. scheme was alright, but I did not like that job Morant bar. The Spike Lee scheme was cool. They used my numbers to get the caffeine deal. Like, they used my numbers to get them to even invest. I thought that was dope too. And a few caffeine bars to keep people woke. The Pepsi sponsor bar I thought was dope. Gender reveal, we all get excited when we see blue. I thought that was cool. So, I mean, it's a cool round for the most part going forward. I'm a whole star, but I walk around with a half moon. I thought that was clever. The planetary scheme, which ended with the telescope bar, extremely outdated. You know what I'm saying? This is kind of example of, I feel like sometimes when the older rappers want to get like heavy with the pen, they go right to scheming, and there's nothing I feel like more outdated with current battle rap rhyming than word association scheming. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't have still clever bars here, but it's just the whole like explaining the scheme out and then afterwards being like, that was a solar scheme. Like, I feel like if anything, this first on the bar for bar side, it plays a little bit. I always think that the critiques of Holla's writing are too extreme, but in this first round, he did the little things that you can critique him for, where he's like, that was this scheme. We're aware. We were listening. But then from there, the Jersey scheme with the 7.62s, I thought that was dope. He must be pussy because pussies get stuck in a tree. Cats stuck in a tree. I thought that was a good flip. And then all that last angle about all your biggest moments go through me, talking about he'd never have the third round for Easy if Hitman didn't exist, and we flipped the coin for the Surf battle. And the Easy, it made sense in hitting the building, like him being there for a lot of Gotti's big moments, but like it would be like, right, if someone else stepped over, like NBA game playoffs, cross up, big three late in the clutch, right? They stepped over someone. And it's like, he got it from Iverson when he stepped over Tyronn Lue. But like, imagine like Tyronn Lue being like, he would have never replicated that if it wasn't for me. Obviously, Hitman means a lot more to our sport than Tyronn Lue means the NBA. But it's just funny, like, yeah, you existed, but you got hit with the round. So I thought that was a little funny as well for approaches. So overall, I like Hitman's first, but I think even though there's some haymakers and good material, writing-wise, there's a little bit of, I would say flaws per se. Some of the angles he took is clever, but maybe didn't execute them as good as Geechi executed his in the first. So it's a heavy first round, probably the most I'll talk about any of the rounds in this battle. But I thought, especially on the playback, I had Geechi live, and I had him very clearly winning the first, watching it now. So second round, back on Geechi, and this is that round I talked about, the closest round of the battle. And he starts out with a few rebuttals. I had like 3 or 4, but I wrote down 3. The 6-man rebuttal was cool. A little bit of comedy about the Spike Lee scheme that Hitman had, making fun of schemes, how easy they are. So he'd do a Spike Lee bar, they freestyle and be like, that's a Spike Lee movie. But then probably the strongest hitting rebuttal, and went right into one of the angles of his round, which is, you were calling out Verb's mama, but when your girl got shot, it wasn't very funny. And that goes into an angle questioning if she got shot, kind of saying like she would have a bigger scar than that. Isn't it true that you had an album drop in the same day? And there's a few angles, we'll talk about Hitman's angle in the second too, that there's you could question validity a bit, but if you'll go crazy doing that, as you will with battle rap angles in general, but particularly with either of these rounds, it's just about how it's executed. And he executed it good early, talking about, talk the story about how she got the phone and went in the closet. That sounds like the movie Taken. And then said, since talking about how he doesn't believe she got shot, saying since your album was dropping the same day, technically both y'all flopped. That was crazy, I can't lie. And then follows that with, you telling me they ran down and they didn't kill her? Just like you, there wasn't no real hitman. That was crazy as well. But then he has, we talk about OBC, some silly bars from either of them. They heard in there was cinnamon, so they sent him in. Like, this is not like the peak of writing here, people. Very good battle for a lot of aspects, but not exactly that. And then kind of one of the funnier parts of his round, he says, shout out to Easy, and stronger parts, shout out to Easy, talking about your wife. I like that bar, saying your wife took a headshot, you still won't marry her. Your wife took a headshot, she took a headshot and you still won't marry her. Like, how'd you have her engaged in a shootout and y'all ain't even engaged, which was a super haymaker. And then followed that with another flip where he's like, how you tell her to let it ring on one knee, but you ain't proposed. And it makes you realize after the second one, he shouted out Easy's bar and then just flipped Easy's bar twice. In the engaged one, different kind of wordplay, it still gets points. I mean, you can't take away a clear haymaker in the battle, but it is a funny thing to think about, where I think that's why I always compare him to Clips, because Clips is the type to like, yo, you see this bar that people like? I'm going to do it now, and kind of get away with it in a sense, but still strong, probably the peak of the round. Some more angles about when, Hitman leaked his sex tape with her, with his girl on Instagram Live. If you had trained her the right way, she would have been ready for the shootout. That was cool. The watch party bar, I didn't like the loaded, you worried about loaded watch party, you should be worried about them getting loaded, having a party with your watch. That was all right. The die for sin, Jesus Christ, was cool. All those roosters around you, you should wake up. I thought that was clever as well. And then a little bit of the verb angle, talk about when your pop said yes sir, that just shows the respect that he had for him, which was cool, but he wasn't in that pocket very long. So not as strong as his first, but still like a very potent Geechi Gotti round, I will admit. Weaker than what I remember in the building. I didn't have as much of that bar for bar feel, but he always ups the punch count and volume. So in person, he is punching like every bar, but that doesn't mean like that it's all that impactful. Like each bar is actually good like that. Still a strong round, like I said. And then it's on to Hitman second. And this is where what ensues when what I'll call the wife off, right? This man Geechi just did a whole round about his girl, and Hitman said, I'm going to spend the whole round talking about yours. So gets at his wife Asia, because he's going to do a lot of Asia flips in this one, which must be your name, saying that she hangs out with his homie, hooks up with his homie Rich Red. And then listen, people are going to go question this angle. Just like you can question Geechi's, you'll go crazy. We're just going to judge off of the execution of it, as far as we know. She was with a Crip fucking on a blood. She was set tripping. Thought that was cool. He entered Asia without a passport. That was all right. And then this is by far probably the worst bar I thought Hitman had in this battle, was the no wonder her name's Asia. She likes to bang cock. Absolutely not, dog. Love you, Hitman, but that you could have just not wrote that one. But then from there, I thought he really picks up steam the rest of this round, because he uses the use a bitch concept against Geechi, which we all know is kind of Geechi's signature. She was fucking on an op, but you wanted to ignore the red flag. That was fire. And then to follow that up, it's crazy how I can get rid of Asia with something made in China. Haymaker. And then from there, I just thought Hitman really didn't let his foot off the gas. I think that you could debate this is probably his best round of the battle. Penthouse suite, balcony, that's the only views I pay for. I thought that was a clever flip to, obviously he's been hearing some of that recently in the lead up to the battle. Are you drunk? When he's writing bars, sometimes I'm like, are you drunk, or is that the rum talking? Kind of a flip, talk about how rum writes for him. I've heard a lot of Gemini Man bars that I don't like. But this one, he said, it's like a Will Smith and Gemini Man. I've been chasing myself, talking about his legacy, like it doesn't compare to y'all's. I'm just chasing my own legacy. I thought that was a very clever way of flipping a bars that I typically haven't liked. And the rapping ability here, and I think that's the biggest difference and thing I like about this Hitman second, he's getting into the pockets. And like wordplay-wise, is that his strength? No, he can punch, but we know that's not his strength. Doesn't mean he can't do it. But the syllable structure and the actual like rapping of it, I thought that was fantastic in his second. I'm like, find me a weapon, put the 9 to his melon, extensions to his head, and it's not the kind he'd be selling. That was fire. Let it ring like a scam call. It was all right. And then recapped him after the battle, like frantic. France job. Shout out Let's Talk Battle Rap home team, man. Love you, France. That was cool. Little angle about behind the scenes. Geechi's all, I'm businessman in public. Behind the scenes, he's like, URL might get mad. Stop playing both sides. You're not Travis Hunter. And then that last kind of performative bar, like rapping to the sky, like he's dead. I'm just talking to his soul. So very close round, very debatable round. This is what the battle comes down to. But on cam, I'm holding my call from in the building, and I still had Hitman edging to second, debatable, but evening the battle at 1-1. And that leaves you with the third round of this battle, and Geechi takes the traditional Geechi real talk approach here in the third, and it's going to be a lot of, substance-based rap, a lot of kind of pain rap, I guess you can say in a sense. I've seen people get hit and they man Holla like Quando. I thought that was fire. Everyone remembers Quando after his homie died in the car, the footage of him crying outside the whip. The abandonment, they shot me and left me. That's why I got abandonment issues. I thought that was clever. The only time I felt a little safe when I was on a house lick. I thought that was clever as well. A bar that I thought this was actually like super slept on in the building. Make show out a pallbearer. Now your little brother can really hold you up. I feel like someone must have said something like that. I thought maybe that's why the crowd didn't react, but I thought that was fire. And I mean, it got like no reaction. Probably the best bar of his third. But then from there, the kind of has an angle like the message you should be spreading to the youth, and kind of gives his own real talk round where he's like, don't focus on this easy money, he can get you locked up. I know people whose career ain't make it to a certain height because they got capped at 6 feet in the grave. I thought that was dope. I lost my best friend at 15. I'm 36 and I still think of him. And it kind of has this whole little paint just talking about how he misses his friend. It's not like the hardest hitting or anything crazy, but that's what we got to appreciate about Geechi is that, loss is something you experience in any wave of life. You know what I'm saying? So kind of talking about it, like just being like, I just miss him. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like that, you can connect with an audience. So it's not that it landed points. I just like that part of his round. And then the rest of it is a laundry scheme, which... I'm not dying over the concept of a laundry scheme, but he brought it out like for many bars, went over a lot of different, topics of it. And he kind of had some clever bars as it went on. Like at first I wasn't, dying over it, but then he had the, it's like when you're, when you're getting socks out the laundry, certain losses we just can't explain. I thought that was fire. Like that's a genuinely fire bar lost up in what you could consider an outdated scheme. And then we would spin the block a few times. We literally had spin cycles. He didn't say spin twice in the bar, that would take away from it, but the spin cycle bar I thought was dope too. But that was it. And I actually think this is, while still a solid round, when you hear the quotes, Geechi's weakest of his 3 rounds, and then Hitman goes, and he started his third pretty slow for me as well. When I first battled, there was no pay. It was just for fun, and then has a whole originator angle. If Jackie Robinson never stepped up to the plate, Barry Bonds would have never got on base. If Dr. J, never cuffed the ball, Jordan would have dunked from the free throw line. So as you'd expect, and sometimes Hitman gets critiqued, and most God tiers, in my opinion, the Mooks, the Luxes, critiqued for talk like this. But then he gets back in the bar for bar and kind of angle approach pretty quickly. The intercom, it's just the principal, so kind of the school bar was dope. Then an angle about when Geechi went to college for criminal justice. I know A-Word used this in the rematch against Geechi. You was locking up, flipping types of Geechi slogans into bars he was saying in court, like you was locking up the shooters. No wonder you named EFB. You was trying to be a lawyer and pass every fucking bar, like the bar exam. I thought that was dope. And I'll tell you what about Hitman here. He's got a comedian scheme. I actually like this, similar to the laundry scheme from Geechi. If I just told you laundry scheme, comedian scheme from these two, you might look at me like it could potentially just not be good, right? But I actually thought it was clever, had a few different references. I thought the Steve Harvey bars dope was too, where he's like, Jay Black, no, you Steve Harvey, Jay Black, because you gave an award to the wrong bitch. Like, I thought that was all clever, but what does he do when he finishes it? He says, that was a comedian scheme. I swear to God, the scheme would automatically be a point better if he just would stop saying that he did a scheme afterwards. I swear that people would like it more. But I still like the comedian scheme. Y'all think I won't use this on I won't do it to Bay watch? Started flipping, obviously, yeah, the Bayloke name that Geechi has. The Jamaican scheme, which was kind of clever. I thought people slept on it a little bit. Like, not the craziest, right? It's schemes, but I hadn't heard one. I hadn't heard the Jamaican scheme up to this point. Then he said, talking through my rounds, the contract said, wait, no, it doesn't, because I made it, referring to the famous Arsenal moment. The contract said I can't hit him, not you, but flips that, which I'm sure he freestyled it, but I bet he kind of had that prepared because, it's like, oh, I'm making the contracts now. I'll find a way to say this in the battle. But I thought that hit, gets into pockets again and kind of goes more, he ends this round really talking on his own perspective about the situation where Cinnamon got shot, saying he's with the hospital with her for weeks. What am I going to do? The devil was on my shoulder. The angel's telling me on my shoulder, telling me, you got to let it go. So I decided I had to reload with the same bullets that came out her, talking about the shell casings around the house, which I thought was cool, the build up. But then he leads that into the, when you talk about her, tell her that she stood up like a G. It was 4v1, or it was 4v1 and she stood up like a G. My bae got a switch. She ain't hide behind a tree. Perfect haymaker ending to end his third round. I thought that he already built up the momentum, performative, even though he was scheming. I thought he had some clever stuff in there, maybe more well-written, definitely more well-written bar for bar than his first round. Obviously, I said I like the second a bit more, but this is the round that, in my opinion, Hitman got clear in this battle. I did have him clearly taking the third, like I had Geechi clearly taking the first round, which brings it to that second. And listen, you can call it Geechi 2-1. I am not mad at it. I think it's pretty 50-50. I know a little bit more, maybe 60-40 consensus goes for Geechi. But even on the rewatch, man, I think I still got Hitman edging that second round, and overall still have him winning the battle 2-1. And that is my full review here for Hitman versus Geechi, going into not just the bar for bars, but really all the approaches, kind of how they countered each other at times. I mean, as I said, both of their rounds are just about their women. So even that matched up. Geechi starting off with such a potent angle that you would think had the potential, and it felt early in Hitman's first, kind of took the energy out of the room, maybe took away from some of his performance, some of his momentum, but Hitman's a great for a reason, man. And even after facing a round like that, where you had a good round, it still just got washed away. He's able to keep, mentally in it. Some battle rappers, I'm not going to say fold after that first, but they might approach energy-wise the rest of the battle different. He stayed, full foot on the gas, competes there in the second. I had him getting it. And I'll say this even though I still think it's debatable, I even was more comfortable picking Hitman in the second on camera. Like I said, it's not that Geechi's second is bad, but it wasn't as potent as I remember in the building in terms of how close it was, just my take. And then I still have him winning the third clear. So some might debate that his third was better than his second. I wouldn't, but if you do, that even shows there's even uphill writing there, which always helps battlers win battles. I mean, typically you want to go, not that you ever want to have a weak round, but you want to get better as the battle goes, obviously not lose steam. And I thought particularly that helped Hitman in this battle. So extremely debatable, and I tweeted something about this, but people always complain, main events, it's so hard to live up to the hype, especially if there's a grudge, and often, especially going last of the night, there's not the energy. This year we've gotten Loaded Lux versus Rum Nitty, we got Tay-Rock versus Big K, we got Hitman versus Geechi. We have hit a lot of home runs on the big matchups that you need to be good, that you really put the money and the time into to build up, and all of them have paid off this year. So I'm happy to see that, man. And we still have Mook and Arsenal coming up, so hopefully that can kind of be in the same line. Do I think it will be? But I would love, at the end of the day, we want the battles to be great. So I would love for it, so we have 4 really impactful pieces of history main event wise that you get from battle rap this year. But now, I want to hear your guys' opinions in the comment section down below, of course, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Our final takes here, if you've gotten to watch it back, on who you had winning between Hitman and Geechi. What did you like about the battle? What did you not like about the battle? And a fun question, if you could humor me, what is the matchup you want to see for each of them next? I know they already announced that Geechi and Rex at some point will happen in 2025 on URL, but who do you want for Hitman next? I've seen some people throw Twerk in that conversation, obviously with the performance of the night he had on this card, and then Hitman getting Battle of the Night. Performance-based battle, there's some things that line up there, but also obviously he's had conversations with Mook. He's even thrown some shots. I think I saw Swamp kind of hinting, throwing a little. I don't know. Maybe that's a matchup I want one day, Hitman and Swamp. But whichever matchups you think are both best for both battle rappers next, let me know in the comments down below, man. And right before, I do like my closing here, I want to say thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. I've been doing this now, a little over 2 years or around 2 years, and I just did this the first time knowing that, I wanted to do the Cody panel. There's just certain things, like, as a fan, I want to check off. I've really been watching battle rap ever since I was a teenager, man. I've spent about half my life watching battle rap at this point, and I just love it. And to think that I really just give my opinions, and it's at a point where, people want to hear that take back. We get to have conversations and stuff that's focused on the battles, because I grew up in an era where we had recaps. Like, it was just as cool to watch media, but not because it had its own dramas and storylines, because there was like real dialogue, like hot takes, but it was about the sport. And if I'm able to give that feeling to any of you guys that feel the same way watching battle rap, that is the goal of this channel, and that's really my purpose being here, man. I just love the rap. So I want to say thank you guys so much, man. It really means everything in the world to me, and I got so much love for y'all. But it's been J Smo Reviews here. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to catch you on the next one, man. Peace.